Good afternoon, everyone. I'm the Lone Ranger, and welcome back to the Lone Ranger podcast. Got a great show for you today. Want to first start off by saying thank you to everyone who subscribed to my YouTube channel and also viewed the first episode. The first episode of our podcast has 430 views and counting, so definitely thank you for that. Thank you, thank you. And again, we are over 1,000 followers with Instagram and TikTok. We are approaching 1,100 followers with the both of those platforms. So please follow me at the Lone Ranger 08 for Instagram and TikTok while it lasts. And also look me up on YouTube, the Lone Ranger Podcast. But let's go ahead and get started. So today's episode is going to be covering a series that I'm going to be creating, or have created rather, called Trust the Process, the Art of Closing a Deal. Okay, this is going to be for the salesman. So if you got your pen and paper, let's go ahead and get started. And basically, let's start off with understanding the psychology of closing a deal. Okay, it's more cerebral than it is analytical. Okay, numbers and words speak for themselves, but it's the why behind the numbers and words that's going to be the focus here today. And that's what you're going to have to understand if you're going to become an elite salesman. Top salesmen, they understand this part of the sale, the psychological aspect, the why behind the what, right? And it all starts at the beginning. Okay. A lot of salesmen like to jump stages in the process instead of following it to a T. And those that follow it to a T are the ones that are normally the ones that end up making the 5-figure checks monthly and things of that sort, while the other ones are searching for leads. So let's go ahead and break that down a little bit. So the foundation, the purpose of it is to introduce yourself to the prospect. You're letting them know the reason for your call or what it is that you do if you're receiving the call. And the purpose is to get their attention right off the bat so you can establish the control of the conversation. And that's going to be very important because a lot of your prospects are going to try to, overtalk you or, try to tell you that they're in control in some type of psychological way. And that's because they don't want to be taken advantage of. They don't want to feel like they made a bad decision or anything like that. So you're going to be met with some resistance in the process. So you're going to have to really, really make peace with that until the deal, until you retire really, because until the deal is closed, you're going to be met with some type of resistance, and it's going to be you have to understand that right off the bat that that's going to happen. But when you establish your rapport with the borrower or with the prospect rather, and you come off calm, cool, and collected, which I call the 4 C's: calm, cool, collected, and confident. Excuse me. Uh, that's going to really help you in the first parts of the selling process, which I call the foundation. And because right off the bat, they're going to know like, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about, and that's going to be a great way to reel them back in when they kind of veer off. Now, moving on, as a salesman, you're going to come into all types of introductions. You're going to have introductions with callbacks. Maybe a prospect received a phone call from another salesman and they're returning the call, so that's a callback. You may be receiving an inbound dial from a campaign. Maybe they're responding to a direct mailer. And then you're going to have outbound dials, whether you're doing cold calling or whether you're doing quality assurance control or anything like that. Outbound dials is going to be a whole another episode alone because it takes a lot to kind of fact find and things like that when you're calling a complete stranger. But the biggest thing after you introduce yourself in that calm, cool, collected, and confident manner is to start to build your rapport with the prospect. And in this initial phase, you're going to get permission from the prospect by asking questions in order to gather the information that you're going to need to solve their problem, basically. And that's going to be important because the more information you get from them, the more information or ammo you're going to have when you do your sales pitch. Now, one of the things that I like to do to help transition into that, to kind of like walk them through the process, is just ask them some affirming questions that is going to allow me to move on to the next step in the process. So after I introduce myself, so let's just say I'm taking an inbound lead. I'll say, good afternoon. My name is Jay Cohen. How can I help you? They'll say, my name is Mr. Smith, and I'm looking to take $20,000 out in cash to pay off my car. From there, if that was like an outright goal right there, I'll say, okay, well, thank you for that information. Is there anything else that you would like to accomplish outside of the $20,000 to pay off your car? They'll probably say no. Right then and there, I've showed that I've listened to them. I reiterated and confirmed what they're trying to do. The next thing I'll say is, okay, great. Well, next I'd like to do is just take a second and gather some information. And from there, I'll work up some options for you to consider. How's that sound? It's smooth, straight to the point. It's not anything that they can really beat around the bush on. It's a simple yes or no question. Another example, you can, say, "Oh, I'm, gonna take a few seconds and just gather some basic information on X, Y, and Z, home, address, income, credit, and assets, whatever it is." Confirming those things as far as what you're gonna be covering, it kinda gives them uh, that assurance that, okay, he's not trying to sell me something, he's actually here to listen, and we go from there. Now, one of the most important things that I tell anyone that's starting out in sales, in the introductory phase, do not close the deal in the introductory phase. Like, don't try to talk about any of the products yet or sell any of the products, because I'm telling you right now, if you do that, you're going to scare them off. Because if they say, I'm trying to take $20,000 out to pay my car off, and you say, okay, great. So here's the terms of the deal. It's going to be blah 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 at blah 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 percent. You may come off like you're having good intentions, but to them,
It sounds like you're talking like this, and you're a demon trying to steal from them and not some salesman trying to help.
so that's how it is. They look at us like we're scam artists or we can't be trusted. So you really got to take this first part of the sales process seriously. Okay, and all jokes aside. So one of the things that you're going to be met with throughout the entire process, especially in the introductory phase, is objections. You're going to be met with some type of resistance. It is what it is. Now, I can tell you right now, if you're not met with any resistance and you're able to close, great. But, sometimes if you're not met with any resistance, it could be a red flag that you really, really don't know about until you get further on in the process. So just be cognizant of that. So, one of the basic objections that I get in the initial phase or the foundation phase, I like to call them brush offs. They try to use these as scapegoats to brush off, the information that we're going to have to collect if we're going to, do a deal. And that is, I'm busy, or I don't have the time right now, or now's not a good time. I hear that a lot. And a lot of times you have to understand the psychology again behind the whole process. If someone called you and you asked them some basic questions and they say, I don't have the time, that's a contradiction. Then why did you call in if you didn't have the time? These people have the time. If they don't have the time, they wouldn't have called. And if they really don't have the time while you're talking, they'll hang up. So if they haven't hung up or if they didn't call, they got all the time in the world. So whenever you're met with that salesman, my fellow Lone Rangers, if they say now's not a good time, just say, I do understand that you're pressed for time, but if I had something that can solve your problem, fill in the blank. Wouldn't it benefit you to know about it and just wait for them to say yes or no? If they say no, then just say, "Oh, okay. Well, sir, have a good day." I really don't have time to go back and forth with people who don't want to move forward. Now, it's gonna take convincing, yes, but sometimes you're gonna have those people who really are just calling to troll you, you know? They're not really interested. They just kinda wanna hear what you're talking about, and they move on. They're really not motivated. They're just spinning their wheels. But if they're not, and you say that, "I have something that can benefit you, wouldn't you wanna hear about it at least?" And if they say yes, that's the opportunity. You move forward, okay? Don't knowledge dump. Don't, try to ask any open-ended questions, delaying the process. Once you once you overcome that objection, you got confirmation, move forward. Now, sometimes that's not really gonna work 100% of the time, so you gotta have other rebuttals for them. So if they say now's not a good time, and you hit them with that first rebuttal and they say, now's not really a good time, this is probably gonna be more for the outbound dollars. You just simply say, "Okay, no problem. When's a good time later on today for me to give you a call back?" And confirm the time. They may say, "Oh, I don't know, just call me later on today." Okay, what time? Confirm the time. They say 5 o'clock. Just say, "Okay, great. I'll give you a call back at 5 o'clock. Is this the best number to reach you on?" And if they say yes, confirm it again. Get their email as well if you can. And then also tell them what number you're gonna be calling from, because I don't know about you. If I get a 800 number or a number that's not saved in my phone, a lot of times I'm not gonna answer it. So, especially if you're applying for any form of credit, you're gonna get a lot of calls from multiple, creditors once you have your credit pulled. So you're gonna be bombarded with credit calls. So it's important that you make sure they have your number, you got the best number, you confirm a time and move on. Now, another objection that I normally get in this initial phase is, "Do you have any information that you can send me?" A lot of times they don't wanna be pressured into the sale or to buy right away, so they kinda use a scapegoat as, "Send me the information so I can think about it," or "Send me the information and I'll read over it and I'll get back with you." We know that's not gonna happen, right? We don't know these people. They're strangers. Now, if this was your friend or a family member, you can trust them a little bit more to call you back. But these are strangers that are calling in from another state, possibly another county, or what have you, and if you send them the information, you'll never hear from them again. They'll use that as a benchmark, and then they'll get sold from somebody else. So when you are met with that objection, just say yes. Yes, I'll be more than happy to send you some information, but this is why I need to ask you a few questions to determine exactly what I should send you and what can best help you. Okay. And let me ask you, boom, you move forward. You kind of take back control of the conversation. That's where the professionalism comes in, because it's going to be a back and forth until one of you submits. You want to make sure it's the prospect, because once that happens, it's an easy sale. Go straight through the process. You really don't have any objections once all the fact finding has been done and your product or service address their goals, and you lament that to them in a way that they can comprehend. Another one is, how much is this going to cost? I mean, you're gonna get that from inbound and outbound leads, because, especially in today's market, cost is going to be an important factor, especially in the mortgage industry, right? So, you know, having a rebuttal to this is gonna help you in that introductory phase, and it's gonna allow you to take more applications and close more deals. So, they say how much this is gonna cost, be real with them. It's like, well, and honest at the same time. Just say, well, it depends on the product or service that we're gonna be doing for you. I don't know what your goals are. I don't know, what type of deals we have right now. I have to look into it. I mean, you're not lying, you're being honest, and in the mortgage industry, everybody's loan is tailor-made to them. So, if someone tells me how much is this loan gonna cost, I don't know, to be quite honest. Like, if you're in New Jersey, your property taxes are going to be higher than Maryland. If you got a $400,000 home, your origination charges are going to be more than someone in rural Indiana with $100,000 home. So all of that information is very important. I don't know if you pay your taxes annually or semi-annually, or if you don't pay them at all. So, that's a lot of things that factor into. You might have a 750 FICO score and it may qualify for conventional, or you may have a 560 and we have to go FHA, or you may be a veteran and you can qualify for all three based on your credentials, but you may not have VA disability, so might not be cost effective to do a VA loan. So it's a lot of factors. So that's why we're in this introductory phase to find out what you're trying to accomplish. And if we can find the solution to your problem, wouldn't you want to hear what that is? Don't you want to take some time to invest, you know, to, see if you can solve this problem? So that's the psychology behind it. You got to understand that they're going to have their guards up, initially. Your job as the salesman is to get them to do this. Eventually, get them to do this. And then lastly, get them to do this, which is to shake the hand and close the deal. So that's pretty much the first phase, the foundation, and the art of closing the deal. And I definitely hope that was helpful. And that's all we got for today, y'all. Give it up for the Lone Ranger. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, if you're not following me, you need to do so. On YouTube, just type in the Lone Ranger podcast, and on IG and TikTok platforms, Lone Ranger '08. Appreciate everybody. God bless. Lone Ranger signing out.